What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Blogger Bowl Week 5 college football preview. I had to look up at the background because I have now got to the point, Matt, in the season where I don't remember what week we're in, particularly when I do NFL stuff too, and they're a week behind. It gets confusing for me. So I know someone on Twitter, I don't remember who, it was like, we should just uniformly make college football and NFL on the same week schedule. So that way, even a week ahead, like what we call week 1 in college football should really be week 0, and week 0, I don't know, whatever. Nevertheless, week 5, I'm Dan. That's Matt, who is still sad, who never changed his title after the other day, but he's still sad. So
yeah, I didn't plan to do this morning, but I logged into StreamYard here and it said still sad. And I was like, you know what? That's accurate. I am still sad. Yeah, you can tell by I forgot my ring light, and you can tell by how dark I look that I'm still sad.
I'm just all natural light, baby. You have the window there. It's a
it's
a gloomy day in Connecticut.
Not really.
Nah, there's like a weird like bluish glow.
Well, so that's just the end of the curtain.
Yeah, no. From your window is what I'm saying. So you'd probably be blue, which I mean you are feeling blue, so
I am blue.
So we look. This week's not a great week in college football. Good morning, Tay. But you know, there's 4 games on the list. I mean, technically there's 5. I just don't want to talk about LSU and Ole Miss. I'm done talking about Ole Miss for a while.
Ole Miss needs to earn the privilege of being talked about again after what we saw them do against, or I guess not do against Alabama.
So we'll talk 4 games today, and we'll get right into it because sports betting launched in Kentucky today.
Yeah, if you live in Kentucky, go sign up. Go use our links, only our links. Go to BetSports, click on any of our links, and sign up in Kentucky.
All right, so we'll start.
You don't ask for very much.
The best
and make a $5 deposit.
Exactly. The best game of the week is tomorrow night, a Friday night Pac-12 banger.
I hate that it's
number
Friday
10 Utah visits number 19 Oregon State. Oregon State is a 3.5-point favorite. This is our first Pac-2 farewell tour game, where one of the teams that's abandoning the Pac-12 is going on the road to Oregon State or Washington State. Matt, this is strength on strength. Utah's run defense is playing like a Utah run defense. They held UCLA to 67 yards on 25 carries and a negative 0.57 EPA per rush. Even in the loss to the Washington State, the Beavers did run the ball well. They had 242 yards at 6.2 yards per carry. Deshaun Fenwick picked up the slack for Damian Martinez, who put the ball on the ground a couple of times. And you know we are always going to shout out anybody with the last name of Fenwick. Go Friars.
Go Friars.
We're starting to see DJU backslide a bit. He's gone 50% or under in his past 2 games and has 3 picks in that span. For Utah, a lot of it's going to come down to quarterback play. At this point, the Chinese government marvels at how secretive Kyle Whittingham is with Cam Rising's status. This is, like I said, this is Oregon State's home conference opener. I'd expect the crowd to be revved up for it. Utah's offense has been really bad at opportunity creation and points per opportunity, and Oregon State's strength so far has been keeping opportunities from turning into points on defense. As much as I love Kyle Whittingham, I said he was, I think, the best coach in college football the other day. It's hard for me to imagine an offense that ranks in the 100s in success rate and EPA per play on offense is going to win on the road in a hostile environment without Cam Rising.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to which, I mean, it's going to sound generic or obvious, but which quarterback takes care of the football best. And I think DJ is going to be able to do that at home, especially with their running game. If Cam Rising's not in, and I mean, I'm just operating on the belief that he's not, just because it just kind of feels that way. And I think if he was playing, they wouldn't quite be a 3.5-point dog. Might be a little bit closer to a pick. I think Oregon State's going to be able to run the football a little bit. I like an under in this one. Like, I think Utah's defense is going to show up like they always do, but without it being in Utah, without it being in Salt Lake City at night. And I think the environment that's going to be at Oregon State, kind of now playing with their backs up against the wall, I think you're going to see a very inspired Oregon State team come out and win a tight. This will be a war. This is just going to be kind of like a gutter war. It's going to be
physical,
15 rounds of heavyweight fighting, and I think Oregon State does come out the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think these are 2 teams that like to play physical football. These are 2 teams that like to be really, really strong up front. The Oregon State offensive line is really good. Utah's defensive line is really good. This might honestly be one of the better offensive line versus defensive line games of the year in college football.
Like, yeah, I mean, agreed.
Pretty sure Utah plays Oregon as well. So like that offensive line is really good. But like this Oregon State offensive line is awesome. And the Utah, like I said, the defensive line has been playing great. I mean, you expect Utah defenses to be really good. Last year, early in the season, they didn't really live up to that standard. And they seem to have found that early on in the season, and they will get a challenge in Corvallis. I just cannot wait to watch this game. It'll be another stark reminder of what we're losing in the Pacific Northwest.
Just pick them up, Big 12. Bring Oregon State aboard and
Bring Oregon
Washington
State and
State.
Washington
Come
State.
on. They'll make
Now,
your conference better. We all know it.
If not, I'm all for like rating the Big Sky Conference and bringing like Montana State, Idaho, and putting like all of those Pacific Northwest, like Yosemite, Yellowstone National Park, like schools all in one conference together. Boise State would not like that. Boise State's very happy that they are at FBS and Idaho is not. Nevertheless, Matt, we can't go a show without talking about Colorado and the Buffaloes. USC visits Colorado. USC is a 21.5 point favorite. I learned a valuable lesson with this game going forward with Colorado, Matt. Square money is just going to continue coming in on Colorado as this line has been bet down to 21.5 from 23.5 at FanDuel. The perception of the U.S. defense under Alex Grinch in a lackluster game at Arizona State have people thinking that things will go much better for Colorado against USC than they did Oregon. And man, I still think this game's a huge problem for Colorado. Obviously, they're a 3-touchdown dog. People continue to underrate what Lincoln Riley teams are capable of on the ground. Oregon is the only team with a better yards per carry average than USC. They're top 5 in success rate and EPA per rush. I only bring that up because we know what Caleb Williams is capable of. His ADOT is 9.7 yards this season, whereas Bo Nix's is 5.8 and was lower against Colorado. Oregon wanted to make Colorado's defense make plays in space. I think we'll see USC challenge them down the field more. 50 points is very much on the table for USC this week. So for Colorado to cover, they're probably going to have to score 30, and I'm just not sure, man. The good news for Colorado is that Sean Lewis versus Alex Grinch is a pretty big coaching edge in favor of Colorado, but USC only does one thing well on defense, and that's rush the passer. USC has a 10.46 sack percentage. Shador Sanders has been sacked on 11.86% of his dropbacks. Colorado is going to have to rely on quick passes in the screen game to get USC off balance, and then try to lean on Dylan Edwards because the rush defense efficiency has been really bad, where USC has been weakest so far on defense. Another thing, though, the crowd will be hyped for this game, no doubt, but I think the trash talk receipts that Oregon's video staff posted will have a lasting residual effect on Colorado. Teams are going to want to beat Colorado this year anyway, and Colorado could be quiet as a church mouse this week, but that video went viral, so regardless, I wouldn't expect USC to sleepwalk through this game the way they did against Arizona State. The Oregon game was a humbling experience for Colorado, but there may be a few more humbling experiences to come this season.
Yeah, I forgot where I was watching, but obviously it's every show on TV was talking about Colorado, and somebody was making the point of like Colorado gets the attention almost that Georgia would get coming into town. Like you're going to get their best shot. The only difference is Colorado ain't Georgia. Colorado isn't really all that more than an average football team. And if you're getting Oregon's best shot, which is a top 10 football team, USC's best shot, which is a top 10 football team, the entire Pac-12's best shot, which has a lot of ranked football teams, it's going to be really, really tough to survive. And like, they're going to go over that win total of 3.5. But like, we're going to see again that the fight for a bowl game is going to be very real for them the rest of the way, because this conference is so deep, because they do have problems up front on both sides of the football. Their best player, Travis Hunter, is still going to be out for a few more weeks. I mean, he has a lacerated liver. I think Dion said originally it was going to be 4 weeks. He's only been out 1. And this week especially, they do have a coaching advantage in Sean Lewis over Alex Grinch. And I do think offensively they're going to be able to put up a few points. But the way that number keeps shrinking, like you said, they're going to have to probably put up 30 to cover that. That was 21.5. And I just don't see them being able to. If you told me to put up 28 points, sure. Sorry, I think there's lawn equipment going on outside if you can hear that. Just one of those days for me. I think 50 is on the table for USC this weekend. Like I think Colorado State will be fired. Colorado will be fired up at home. They'll play with some inspiration, all that good stuff. But like USC is just a really good football team. They have the best quarterback in the country, future Bear Caleb Williams. Will ruin him too.
Yeah.
But without a doubt. But back to college and this Saturday. Yeah, I think USC is the fact that it keeps going down. Like I might roll the dice and hope that it does drop to 21 or even 20.5, 20.5, and the money just keeps rolling in on Colorado. And if it does, I will hop on that. And even if it doesn't, I will still hop on the line at probably anything up to 24, which it's not going to get back up to.
Yeah, I bet it at 24. Tay says got a good number on those early look aheads, and then
I'm
added more.
so mad at myself for not getting the look ahead lines for Oregon and SC when they was like, what, 14.5 for this one, and it was
Yeah,
16 and a
I
half
was
for
just
SC. I'm
waiting for it to
so
come
mad.
down, and yeah,
I
just
knew it was going to happen too. Like, we all knew it was going to happen against Oregon. We knew that was going to happen. The Colorado State game is the one that messed everything up.
yeah. Just for context sake, last year Colorado finished 124th in Bill Connolly's SP Plus, and there were only 131 teams. Right now, they're 79th, and the Priors are still doing some heavy lifting there. So they've gone, like you said, like Matt, they've gone from legitimately one of the 10 worst teams in college football to a very respectable, average, middle of the pack college football team in year one. And that's a credit to what they've done at Colorado. But yeah, I mean, when you're giving a middle tier, middle of the pack college football team the attention of a top 10 team, and they're playing top 10 teams,
it's not going to end well for them.
It's not going to go well for them at all. I didn't write down spread, so I've got to go find. Oh, it's right next to it. Here we go. Another ranked versus ranked game, Matt, is the Kansas Jayhawks undefeated visiting Austin to take on my beloved Longhorns, who are a 16.5-point favorite. College football is weird, Matt. The last time these two teams played in Austin, Kansas won. So I don't think you should expect Texas to have a look ahead to Oklahoma next week. And in all honesty, with that Oklahoma game on the horizon, Matt, as a Texas fan, I think it'll be nice to see Texas play a good offense like Kansas and not a bad offense like Alabama. So anyway,
yeah, I mean, I love good one. I mean, as a Texas, not that if I were a Texas fan, I it took a second, but I did laugh. But like what you said is also very true. If I'm a Texas fan, I think I like that Kansas has that little number next to their name because it helps prevent the overlooking. And I like that Kansas is coming in playing good football because similarly to what my Irish like to do at home sometimes against lesser opponents, especially with look ahead game or with bigger games coming up. Sometimes Texas likes to kind of go through the motions at home a little bit, and I know you've said that against lesser opponents. This kind of prevents them from doing that. They have the motivation of last time they played here, they came in and beat us. So I like that Texas really doesn't have the opportunity to look ahead of this game because Kansas is a good football team. Jalen Daniels is a very good quarterback. Why do I always blank on their head coach's name, the dude from Whitewater? Lance Leipold is a very good football coach, and he's shown that Kansas is a good football team, and Texas can't overlook them. So I think that's a positive for them going into this one.
Yeah, last year, Texas absolutely destroyed Kansas and Lawrence. It was a 55-14 game. It was the one time all season Texas looked good against a non-marquee opponent. The problem for Texas might be the fact that they got 243 yards and 4 touchdowns from Bijan Robinson, who, as you may know,
I don't think he's there anymore.
Speaking of ruining people, the Falcons are probably going to ruin him. I'm not sure it's going to matter a ton. Jonathan Brooks had over 100 yards against Kansas in mop-up duty last year, and while nobody is Bijan, he is proving to be an adequate replacement so far this year. Kansas really struggles at keeping quality possessions from turning into points, so it feels like a long day at the office for Kansas defense. Like I said, I mean, I made the joke about the Alabama offense earlier, but while Kansas obviously far less talent than Alabama, they are better coached and the system has been more functional than in the past. This game feels like a business trip, though it's a home game for Texas. Kansas is very, very good on offense, but Texas's talent level is much higher and they're a well-coached bunch, particularly on defense. I'm looking for Texas to handle their business ahead of what should be an all-time anxiety game next week in Dallas, a top 10 showdown between the Longhorns and the Sooners. So, yeah.
There's nothing worse than a rivalry game like that coming up where you're the team that like definitely should win. It's just terrifying. No, you should win. You should win next week. I'm not just saying that to be like that guy. You should beat Oklahoma next week.
I don't
necessarily. And that terrifies me going into.
And we'll discuss that. I mean, obviously, unless they both lose this week, we'll talk about that game next week. But like, I don't necessarily know if I agree. I think if you look at all the metrics, it's a pretty even matchup. So like, it's one of those games. I don't know either team should win that game. I think either team could win that game. Plus, you got to think Oklahoma's going to have some motivation after the way they played in that game last year. So I don't know that I would say Texas should win that game, but I mean, they'll be favored and they should be favored. I almost jumped on Oklahoma minus 5.5. Oklahoma
don't do that.
No.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were for a second. I thought you were talking about a look ahead line for next week.
No, I was. No. Because
don't bet against your team.
It should
always double down.
It should be a field goal. It just shouldn't be. And then it got bet down. So that's what it is.
You guys are going to win 49-0 again.
Oh God, that would be amazing. I would cry tears of joy. I'm trying to find the line. You might know it better than others. All right. And then the last of the big games. I know we're kind of speed running through today, but I know Matt's got a lot going on.
You're fine. We're fine. We got some time.
Bounce back spot for Matt's Notre Dame Fighting Irish as the number 11 Notre Dame Fighting Irish hit the road to Durham to take on number 17 Duke. The Irish a 5.5 point favorite. The total 51.5. Interesting vibe here. A couple weeks ago, if you remember, Phil said on the show, the Notre Dame staff was more worried about Duke than they were Clemson, which is definitely an eye-opening comment for me. On the flip side, this is Duke's biggest game since I don't know when.
Ever.
College game day is coming to Durham. Wallace Wade Stadium, though, has never really been an intimidating venue. You know, it's kind of ironic. We always talk about like opposing fans coming into Notre Dame Stadium and making it, you know, not so much of a home field advantage, although Notre Dame did a great job of keeping Ohio State fans out as best they could last week.
Yeah.
This kind of feels like one of those situations where East Coast Notre Dame fans are going to be able to take in a stadium and make that more of a home game.
There's such a national fan base that, yeah, like the Georgia game, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, like Notre Dame season ticket holders that are nationwide sold, and they probably made their entire season's worth on that game. But because they're such a national fan base, the ones that there's a lot of Notre Dame fans on the East Coast. So if they're coming to North Carolina, it's a 2-hour drive. Cool, we're going to see the Irish this week. Like their fans travel well because they're such a national fan base.
Exactly. So here's my analysis of this, Matt. You can tell me if I'm off base or on base.
You're probably right.
And then obviously you'll and then I'll lay out and let you give your thoughts. Duke is a remarkably solid football team, but they have one real deficiency, which is a big problem here, and that is they struggle at keeping teams from positive run plays. They're good at not breaking on defense, but they're 94th in the country in rushing success rate on defense. They give up too many positive rush plays without giving up the explosive, but run game travels. The best way to quiet a hostile crowd is just to matriculate the ball down the field and keep drives going. Notre Dame is 115th in the country in net field position, so generating quality possessions has been a challenge because they're starting from a deficit so often, but the run game is important for them. We know how good it can be. And on the other side, I'm just curious what level Duke can get to here. They looked awfully good against Clemson, but had an entire offseason to prep for that game. I'd imagine they spent a lot of time prepping for this one since then, because once everything went down at Northwestern this offseason, I think shifting as much focus to Notre Dame as possible in a stretch of Lafayette, Northwestern, and UConn is probably something that happened. I will say, Matt, I think Duke has a coaching edge here, but I'm excited to see what happens.
I think Duke has a very good head coach. I'm not going to go as far as say they have a coaching edge, but like I think Mike Elko is a fantastic head coach. I think he'll have Duke ready to play. It's a matter of mentally, how is Notre Dame past the Ohio State loss? Right. Are those guys able to get by it and put that aside and go out and play football? If they can do that, they're going to be able to run the ball. Audric Estime is going to get his. Jeremiah Love had a little bit of a breakout game against Ohio State. That was my freshman of the year to watch in the preseason show. He gives them a different look at running back, and I think he can do some really good things. If they can run the football and they come out on their first drive and go, 10 plays, pound the rock, 7 runs, go touchdown, like I think this is going to be a game that's fine. If they come out and go 3 and out and you see a little bit of hesitancy again, it could be a long night. But I'm also I left that Notre Dame game so impressed with Notre Dame's defense. Their line did not get after Kyle McCord as much as I'd like, and that's we knew that was kind of going to be their Achilles heel defensively this year. But I think Al Golden's going to essentially make Riley Leonard beat him with his arm. I think they're going to try and take away that ability to scramble, or at least best he can. And I'm just not sure that Riley Leonard's going to be able to do that consistently enough to win this game. I think Duke's going to play well. I think they're going to be well coached. I think they're going to have a good game plan. But I feel similarly to what I said about that NC State game, where I think it's kind of annoyingly close for a little bit, and then kind of late third quarter, early fourth, Notre Dame just wears them out and ends up pulling away, not big time, but by a couple scores.
Yeah,
like 31-17-ish, something like that. I left that Ohio State game. I know they lost, but so impressed with Notre Dame defensively that I think they got a really good shot to come out against Duke. If they're all with it, if they're not still shell shocked from that loss, to come out and play well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of to a lesser degree maybe than the Texas-Kansas game. I think this is a game where talent edge just wins out. I think ultimately at the end of the day, I think Notre Dame. Now, I don't know that Notre Dame's offense is just super explosive, particularly on the road here against a Duke defense that in year 2 under Mike Elko has improved a lot. But I just think like you said, particularly with their run game, they have the ability to wear Duke down in this game. I don't necessarily think. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, finish.
I was gonna say I don't think you're necessarily trying to play keep away against Duke. I don't think that's necessarily the philosophy, but I think with the run game they will be able to keep the ball out of Riley Leonard's hand, and I think that's going to be a key.
It's not it might look like playing keep away, but it's not playing keep away. That's just Notre Dame's offense. They run the football, like you said. I think they have some pretty good, talented young receivers, but they're still freshmen, and I think true freshmen, true sophomores, and they're kind of really learning on the job here still. But what they do have is a running back that can run the ball. They have a line that can block both, and they have a quarterback who is very protective of the football. Knock on wood, still hasn't thrown an interception yet this year. And that's conducive to, all right, we don't really need to take these big shots. We don't need explosive plays. We can just go 11 or 12 plays down the field on Duke. Obviously, you'd like some of those to happen. You'd like some of these intermediate routes to get broken for touchdowns, or Audric Estimate to rip off a run or beat somebody over the top. But Notre Dame has shown this year they're capable of putting together those 10, 11 play drives pretty consistently.
My other key for Notre Dame in this game is making sure they have 11 players on the field on defense, because if they don't, this would be the third time. It would be the third time third game this season where they've run out 11 guys.
Do you see my name tag?
Sorry. Like digging up the one from the Tennessee State game was nasty business.
Do you see my name tag?
Nasty business. All right. Before we move on to bets, I like to do my history lesson, and there's a great one for my childhood this weekend, a rivalry game for my childhood. Matt, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, Auburn, Georgia, the 128th meeting in a rivalry where weird shit happens.
Really does.
We were talking before the show. This one's great to me because I love trying to find out when rules became rules in college in football, why things are done a certain way in college football. And in 1916, these two teams played on a wet and muddy day. Auburn lined up for a field goal when Captain Lucy Hairston took off his leather helmet, placed it on the ground, creased the top of the helmet. They snapped the ball, and then Moon Ducote kicked the ball through the uprights. And so basically they used his leather helmet as a makeshift tee as Moon Ducote booted the ball through the uprights, and Auburn won 3-0. And then a rule was passed shortly thereafter. Rule was passed shortly thereafter. You have to kick field goals directly off the ground. So if you ever wondered why they kick field goals and extra points off the ground, Matt, it's because Auburn used a leather helmet as a tee in the game.
Thanks a lot, Auburn.
Yeah,
you had to ruin it for the rest of us.
Now, every now and then they'll let a snowplow clear the field if you're the New England Patriots, but you still have to kick off the ground. I was like, ooh, I want to see what the weird, because that game is such. I mean, you have the hair.
Every other year, there's just something really wild that happens. Even if the game's not close, something weird happens. I love it.
Auburn's a weird place, man. So we'll get to our bets from there, and I guess I'll pivot. I had it listed as my third bet, but I will go first because I know Matt likes to potentially add to his card.
I do. I love adding to my card.
So my first bet,
hobby.
I'll go. Actually, I mean, I already took USC minus 23.5. I've mentioned that the other day. Auburn against Georgia. Auburn, I think, has been held under 100 passing yards in 5 straight FBS games.
That's an insane stat.
Texas A&M's defense, while talented, has not been very good, and Auburn couldn't do shit against them. I don't know how they're going to move the ball on Georgia, so I'm just going to keep this one real simple, Matt. Auburn first quarter under 2.5 points. I'm basically just betting on the Georgia Bulldogs to shut Auburn out in the first quarter there. Talked about it, I think, the other day as well. I'm going to take another team total under. This one's going to be a full game. Mississippi State team total under 15.5 against Alabama. 7 of their last 8 games against the Crimson Tide, they have been held to single digits. And I know you don't bet trends, but that's less a trend and more a talent and scheme mismatch.
Also, Bama's defense has been playing, we give their offense a lot of crap. Their defense has been playing pretty well. Even against Texas, I know they let up 34 points, but their offense didn't do them any favors. And Quinn Ewers dropped a couple deep balls in a bucket. That's going to happen sometimes. That's not necessarily on the defense when a quarterback makes a good throw. Bama's defense has not been a problem really this year.
No, they haven't. And Mississippi State's offense has. And we mentioned it earlier, Matt. Our good friends in the state of Kentucky are now able to bet on sports legally. Congratulations to Kentucky. They went live today. So
sign up on BetSports. Sign up on BetSports.
I'm going to clip this. I'm going to put it on Twitter with the link. You can sign up, pick whichever, or all sign up for all of the sports books using our links. And I have put together a parlay for the people out there, Matt, because I am a
Kentucky special.
The Kentucky special, the Bluegrass State parlay. Give me Louisville, NC State over 54.5 and the Kentucky money line against Florida. You can get that at plus 256 at FanDuel. Price shop it. Find the best price wherever you can. I can't back Louisville as a road favorite So I'm taking the over. NC State has been surprisingly bad on defense, just 80th in defensive success rate this year. NC State's offense has been pretty mediocre, but they do excel at finishing drives when they get the opportunity, which is something Louisville struggles to stop. I'm going to clip that. I'm going to cut that. So
you're fine.
Louisville should win this game, but I don't like backing road favorites, teams that I'm not really sure how good they are just yet. And then Kentucky finally bested the Florida Boogeyman a few years ago. Remember, they had lost like 30 years in a row. They've won two straight against
Florida.
I lost
money on that.
Florida struggles to turn opportunities into points, and that feels like a problem on the road in a hostile environment. Kentucky is 4-0, but they have not played anybody of note yet. So this is a big coming out party for them. If Devin Leary is going to be a guy that gets NFL teams excited, he needs to put it on film this week. So there you go. Louisville over 54.5. NC State, over 54.5. The Kentucky money line parlay at plus 256. And then Matt, there's a market on DraftKings that they put up every week, and I'm fascinated by it. I want to start betting these. If you go to college football, quick hits to score first. So this is basically, they give you both teams in the game and you can choose who's going to score first. Any score. Can be field goal, touchdown, however. And my philosophy on this, Matt, is to take either home underdogs or road teams playing bad defenses. So Ole Miss at home against LSU, they really, really need to play well in this. They got embarrassed last week. LSU's defense has been very, very bad. So Ole Miss plus 110. Sorry to have to do this one, but put it on the list. But Duke plus 114 against Notre Dame again. Huge game for Duke.
That's fine.
I feel like Notre Dame, like this is going to be kind of a slugfesty kind of game. And if I can get plus
money, feel real silly when Notre Dame gets the ball first and pounds the rock for a 10-play, 75-yard touchdown drive, Dan. That's when I'll stop being sad.
10-play, 75-yard field goal drive would still be a loser, I'm just saying. And then South Florida, they are on the road. They are plus 105 to score first against a really bad Navy defense. It seems like South Florida has finally figured out how to run the Josh Heupel offense that Alec Golesh brought with him. Naeem Simmons had 8 catches, 272 yards, and a touchdown against Rice. So they are a big play offense, and if they get the ball first, I like their chances to score against Rice. So you can find all of these on DraftKings. It's a market I've been fascinated by, and every time I look at one I like and don't bet it wins. So I'm going to give out 3 that are definitely going to lose. So what do you got on your card, Matt?
I like your. I was looking for a way to bet Bama. I'm going to take Bama first quarter minus 3.5. I just think they're much better than Mississippi State, and like you said, that's a rivalry that things never go well for Mississippi State. I am going to lay the points 21.5 with USC. I'm going to wait to see if it comes down, like I said, but I'm still pretty comfortable with it at 21.5. I am going to take my Irish minus 5.5. I think it is a little bit of a slugfest, but like I said, I think it's one where they win by 7 to 10 points ish. It's a close game, but I do think they pull away on the road and pull it out. What else did I have here? West Virginia plus 12.5 at TCU. I don't think TCU is all that good this year, and I've been pretty impressed with how West Virginia's played so far. I think they're playing for Neil Brown, which I didn't quite really expect, and it seems like Neil Brown might be saving his job a little bit, so good for him. But they've done a pretty good job so far this year, and I believe that I want so badly to lay 12.5 with Iowa against Michigan State, but I'm not going to touch that. Washington team total over 43.5 at Arizona.
Okay,
was my last one.
I like it.
I think that line's 18.5, which I think I like for Washington, but Arizona's offense is tricky, and Jaden Delora at home at night, believe it's a night, could get weird and put up some points. So I'm just going to bet on Michael Penix Jr. to score a lot of points because that's what he does. If
you're looking for something under the radar to consider, Jacksonville State, Sam Houston State play tomorrow night. The total is 36.5 in that game. The FBS transition for Sam Houston State has not gone particularly well on offense. If you look at the metrics, they basically are like dead last in every single metric this season. And I've now got to go bring it up because I'm now.
Do you know what? While you're bringing that up, I was just scrolling DraftKings again to make sure I didn't miss anything. Do you know what's going to be a gross football game?
What?
Pitt at West Virginia at 8:00 on Saturday night.
You mean Pitt at Virginia Tech?
Sorry, I don't know why I said West Virginia. Yes, Virginia Tech. That's going to be a gross football. Yeah, because I had Virginia Tech on the brain, or West Virginia on the brain. That's going to be a gross football game. I don't know. I don't like taking shots at college kids, but Phil Jerkovic, I just don't really mind since he just decides to be a horse's ass just about every chance he gets when talking to the media. He's been awful this year. Pitt's just a gross football team. Virginia Tech, unfortunately, can't get things going with that program, and I don't know why. That's going to be an awful football game, and I might watch every second of it.
So Sam Houston has played 3 games, Matt. They have played BYU, they have played Air Force, and they played Houston. Over those 3 games, how many points do you think Sam Houston has scored total?
7.
10.
Oh, so close.
I
knew 7 was probably tough because that would have required them to either get shut out twice or have recorded 2 safeties, which are not likely.
They almost were shut out twice. They lost 14-0 to BYU, 13-3 to Air Force, and then 38-7 against Houston. Are they technically still independents? I'm trying. Oh, no, it was week 4. I'm trying to bring up to some of the efficiency numbers here to see if Houston actually did anything on offense in that game or if Sam Houston just sucked. Because, no, Houston moved the ball pretty well on them. All right. So, but I mean, this Sam Houston offense has been horrendous. Their defense has been pretty decent. You could start packaging unders of that game, the Pitt game. You know what? Screw it, Matt.
Add it to your card.
Let's see.
Let's go.
Let me find under 36.5 there, and then Pitt, Virginia Tech, under 39.5 plus 264. Terrible idea. What if we tease those totals up now? Never tease college football to begin with. I'm actually not going to bet that. But if both unders hit, I'm going to be really annoyed. But
the only time you tease a total is if it's you need the last leg of one, and it's Iowa Northwestern, and it's going to be a 10-0 game. Then that can be your insurance policy. But don't tease. But
alt unders are going to be a thing. Jacksonville State runs the ball very well. That's Rich Rod's offense. But their offense,
I did not remember that.
Oh yeah, Rich Rod's the coach of Jacksonville State.
Completely forgot about that.
Yeah, they're doing okay in their transition, but that game's going to be ugly. That game's tomorrow night. By the way,
you ever think about what would have happened if Rich Rod took the Bama job? Just the dominoes that would have fallen since then.
It's definitely one of the
college football would be different.
It's definitely one of the great what ifs in the history of college football. There's no doubt about that. But while we're on the subject, Matt, do you know what starts next week?
Maction?
No, Maction is November, but
so that's why I was confused.
October.
Sunbelt?
Midweek Conference USA. We get Florida and I think it's Jacksonville State and Middle Tennessee. It's one of these 2 teams. I can't remember which one, against Middle Tennessee, and then FIU against New Mexico State in a game that's sneaky important for bowl eligibility.
Should I bring my Maction system and test it out on midweek Conference USA? Underdogs and overs?
Why the hell not?
Underdogs and overs the last 2 years for me in Maction has cleaned up.
I mean,
except Ohio. It's underdogs or overs, except always bet on Ohio.
Except our guy.
Now, I guess I always forget which Rourke it is, but he's not there anymore. So Ohio
Rourke's still there. He just got hurt.
He's gone now.
No. He tore his ACL.
Back on. We're on Ohio. Yeah.
He blew out his knee or messed up his knee at the end of the season.
Yeah, I remember that.
Came back and then got knocked out of the San Diego State game with a concussion, I think. Curtis.
Got it. Okay. Well,
Nathan Rourke's either in the CFL or on a practice squad in the NFL somewhere or a backup in the NFL, and Curtis is still at Ohio. I don't know how he's been. All I know about Ohio is just going through metrics and stuff. Their defense has been really, really good this year.
Tuesdays and Wednesday nights bet Ohio.
But yeah, I'm trying to see if they
don't know about Saturdays. I don't touch Saturdays, but Tuesdays and Wednesdays bet Ohio.
Let's see. What'll they give me a flat 35 under 35.5 even money for Jacksonville State tomorrow night at so give me the under. I'm going to add that one to the card. We'll go even money Jacksonville State under 35.5 tomorrow at DraftKings. Alt under there. So just going to buy a half point in my favor. I just don't know that they're going to get there. All right. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I think we're good.
We crushed it, as always. We appreciate everyone for checking us out. If you're in the state of Kentucky, please go bet legally on sports.
Do us a favor. Bet legally with us.
On all the links, like I said, I will post on Twitter the clip of my bet there. You can find them there. You can go to 4 for 4. I think that's probably going to be the best place where all of our links are going to.
They're on BetSperts too. You go to the BetSperts app. It's the first article in the carousel. We got every link you could want.
So you can go check all of that out. We will be back next week to break down everything that happened this week and preview the big Texas-Oklahoma game next week. I don't even know what other
Maybe
games
Florida Phil will be back. Who knows?
Who knows? Florida Phil at the end of the quarter. So maybe next week he'll be free.
Notre Dame wins by 2 scores on Saturday. Florida Phil's here on Tuesday, ready to go. Right, I bet.
Yeah, suddenly he's
I'm
back.
the one still here.
Matt's
the
one contractually.
Shout out me. Still sad.
Still sad, Matt. I'm Dan.
And contractually obligated, yes.
Yeah, no, we kind of work for the company, so
technically, yeah, but
we don't get paid to do this show.
That's
we're doing it because it's a passion project. That's what it is. It's a passion project. So
it's the blogger.
Phil, hopefully the end of the quarter goes well for him. For Still Sad Matt, I'm Dan. We will talk to you guys next week.